Might be the appropriate message for Clinton Cards tonight as it collapsed into administration, putting 8,000 jobs at risk. There was once a Clinton store on virtually every high street, but its shares were suspended after it struggled to pay off its debts. Clinton Cards started out as a family business, but from humble beginnings it grew to dominate the UK market. At one stage it owned the largest card store in the world in London's Oxford Street, and it had ambitions to run 1,000 outlets. The company was founded in 1968 by Don Lewin with a store in Epping in Essex. Within 20 years it had expanded across the UK. There were 77 high street shops and it floated on the stock exchange. Boom times followed and it bought out Hallmark Cards and Carlton Cards. In 1998 it continued its acquisitive streak and opened concessions inside Debenhams. In 2000 it launched its own self-designed website and 4 years later bought out rival card store Birthdays. But despite riding out previous recessions, selling cheap affordable cards and gifts, as the decade progressed, Clinton found itself falling out of step with modern retailing and its customers.
It's easier to shop indoors than it is to go on the high street and shop, basically.
There are smaller shops, like independent shops, that maybe do funnier cards or like have a certain theme to cards.
Got a bit of a confused offering. For the consumer goes in there, they get bombarded by lots of different. I'm looking in there now, I mean, look like a bit of a pound shop, to be blunt with you.
The main problem with Clinton Cards is that it's charging fairly premium prices in today's market for what is, in actual fact, a fairly standardised mainstream offering. So those consumers that are interested in a mainstream offering are turning to cheaper alternatives.
Faced with aggressive online and high street competitors, Clinton recorded a loss of over £3.5 million in January. But things took a turn for the worse in the last 24 hours. Its bank sold its debts to its biggest supplier, the US giant American Greetings, which promptly called the loans in, and Clinton was unable to pay. It plunged into administration, putting thousands of jobs and a British high street institution at risk. Well, joining me now is Sharon Little, the Chief Executive of the Greeting Card Association. What do you think went wrong?
As they say, it was a combination of debts, probably from the Birthdays buyout, and high rents. They took up very expensive leases during the boom years, and now that the rents are dropping, they're suffering from that, unfortunately.
Do you think, though, if American Greetings hadn't called in its loans, that Clinton would have survived?
Who can say? You cannot predict. I don't know, is the answer.
But you heard some of the customers there saying that, you know, the stores look like a pound shop, one of them said, and, you know, the cards are outdated. Is that the problem, rather than the financial side of this?
I think the financial side was the problem. They didn't have the money to invest in their shops, and as a result, they had very tired-looking shops. And you have Card Factory coming up behind and increasing, and it was squeezed in between the card factories and then the chains such as Paper Chase and Scribbler, and you know the other high street chains that are doing incredibly well at the moment.
Because their shops look better, or because they're selling more interesting cards?
I should think a bit of both.
What about e-cards, though? People have talked a lot about that. I mean, are people sending more e-cards now, and we're not actually putting pen to paper so much as a nation?
I think as a nation we hate e-cards. They really haven't taken off. We spend the most amount on greeting cards. We buy more cards per head than any other nation. This is the most successful, vibrant, creative industry in the world. All the world comes to us for their cards. You know, £50 million goes through to charities through the sale of charity Christmas cards. E-cards really haven't taken off at all. You can't put them on your mantelpiece, and people think that they're a bit of an insult, really, when they receive them, and they might even be a virus.
Could Clinton be saved, though, do you think?
Who can tell? I hope so. I hope so, because it's not good news for the high street for it to disappear.
Sharon Little, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you.
Great. Thanks. Now, plans to legalise gay marriage